Welcome to UCLA, an institution with a close tie to student activism. While this is oh so unfortunate for the administration who desperately attempted to interfere with the students' efforts, this is fortunate for students of color here at the institution to this day.
As a central space on campus, Royce Quad was and continues to be an area of activism and protest. In 1998, opposition to Chancellor Carnesale's inauguration arose. Activists and protesters converged on Royce Hall. These days of protest against the Chancellor's views on Proposition 209 became known as the Days of Defiance, held in Royce Quad. This protest began due to Carnesale's openly opposing Standing Policy 1 and Standing Policy 2, which would prove to be detrimental to minority students at UCLA and end affirmative action. On April 23, 1985, 2,000 protesters gathered in Royce Quad to protest the apartheid in South Africa. The South African government had laws at the time that made discrimination legal. At the time, the University of California invested in businesses that supported the apartheid. Students demanded that the university part ways from investing in South Africa, and a tent city was created, Nelson Mandela Village, for the leader of the African National Congress, who was a primary figure fighting the apartheid. The tent city grew to approximately 150 protesters and 50 tents.
It is a question of whether we are making any real progress in the area of race relations, but we still have a long, long way to go. And it is this realistic position that I would like to use as a basis for our thinking together.
On April 27, 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a 55-minute speech to a crowd of 5,000 people here on the top of Jan Steps. It was here that he addressed the need for African Americans to be able to determine their own political destiny, pushing for the passing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In doing so, President Lyndon B. Johnson actually signed the act into law 5 months later. He also addressed issues of poverty and segregation while commending students for their fight for equality and freedom. On January 16, 2001, students of color rallied at the top of Jan Steps for the implementation of AB 540. This bill would allow undocumented students who have attended California high schools to be able to attend California colleges at the same rate as in-state students without having to pay international or out-of-state fees. When this bill was signed into law by Governor Davis, the UC system was the last to implement this bill, and so students rallied for its implementation, and thanks to their efforts, the UC Regents effectively put the bill into practice at the UC system in 2003. On April 27, 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a 55-minute speech to a crowd of 5,000 here on the top of Jan Steps. He addressed the need for African Americans to be able to determine their own political destiny, pushing for the passing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which President Lyndon B. Johnson would sign 5 months later.
Schaumburg Quad was the site of the 1993 hunger strike. 5 UCLA students, a professor, and 3 community members decided to fast, creating a hunger strike that lasted 14 days in an effort to establish a Chicanx Studies department. The quad was lined with tents, and the protesters survived only with water. This occurred after Chancellor Charles E. Young rejected a student's proposal for a Chicanx Studies department in April 1993. The hunger strikes ended when the UCLA administration compromised and created the Cesar Chavez Center for interdisciplinary instructions in the Chicanx Studies.
Here in Campbell Hall in the 1960s, UCLA began the High Potential Program, the precursor to the Advancement Program, AAP. The original program sought to recruit students from many backgrounds in response to the university's lacking diversity and resounding inequality. In January 1969, students hosted a meeting in a small dining hall in Campbell to decide on leadership positions of UCLA's newly formed Afro-American program, a segment of the High Potential Program. Tragically, students Al Prentice, Bunchy Carter, and John Higgins Jr. were murdered that day in Campbell Hall in room 1201.
of Vietnam War protests, Campbell Hall was the only UCLA building that was stormed by the Los Angeles Police Department during a 1971 raid. An American Indian student was beaten severely and almost died from the violence. On May 25, 1988, the Concerned Pacific Students for Action, CPSA, organized a rally on the steps of Campbell Hall. They demanded the immediate tenure of Professor Don Nakashini. After a long and mobilized effort, the university finally granted him the tenure he deserved.
In the 1960s and 70s, with the deployment of U.S. soldiers in Vietnam, college campuses, including UCLA, erupted into protests. On May 21, 1969, 1,200 students filled Murphy Hall and held a peaceful all-night sit-ins. These protests went on for years. The climax of the protests occurred when protesters barricaded themselves inside Murphy Hall. More than 200 LA police officers were needed to remove the barricades, and 54 students were arrested. Lead organizers said that they would not stop until the U.S. ended its involvement in Vietnam.
After California voters overwhelmingly passed Proposition 187 on November 11, 1994, more than 100 UCLA law students and faculty organized a walkout to the votes. 7 days later, 26 students, a multi-ethnic coalition under the name of the Human Rights Coalition, staged a rally and a sit-in in order to bring about the university non-compliance with Proposition 187. 26 students were arrested by university police in full riot gear.